Hello, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock of the EmeraldPlanet and EmeraldPlanet TV. We come to you on a week-to-week basis from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, the technology, services, and products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And as we have a planet of 9 billion people by 2038 and possibly 12 to 13 billion by the end of this century, how are we going to be able to take care of all these people on planet Earth? And that's what EmeraldPlanet's all about. We come to you looking at the solutions, the best practices from around the globe as we create the EmeraldPlanet. Hello, welcome to the EmeraldPlanet. We're making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And seeing the long-term impacts of climate change. We're glad to have you. Thank you for being with us. EmeraldPlanet is looking around the globe, as always, looking for those leading technologies. And actually, as the worsening of climate change and the increased disastrous impacts of climate change on humankind, on all living beings, we're now trying to look at or across the horizon. And this company that we're introducing right now, Pangea, is one of those that actually is doing the very same thing and is introducing a very innovative technology in densely built communities, such as downtown areas, the 300 legacy cities in the United States, and also in very rural areas where they have these massive data centers. So we have Dan Bicz. He is the co-founder of Pangea Filtration Technology, LLC. And Dan, welcome to the EmeraldPlanet TV.
Thank you, Dr. Sam.
It's always good to have you with us. Tell us, what is Pangea? And you really claim to be the clean of everything. How do you get to do that?
Well, by bringing together the cleanest of clean people and who know technology and who have a track record. And in this case, we've united about 18 people that could all retire early if they want, but they're dedicating themselves to helping clean the planet. And so Pangea principal mission is to help deploy proven climate technology that can help countries meet the COP26 and companies meet various mandates, such as those being put down by the data center industries.
Now, looking at Pangea itself, and we're going to leave this logo up here for just a minute. I like it because it really gives the essence of your mission and your vision. But looking at going beyond the horizon, how do you find such innovative technologies, but yet are proven? You're introducing a technology here that's been around for almost 2 decades. It's spread across the United States, yet it's something that even people that are in the environmental community have really never heard of.
Well, Dr. Sam, we actually got solicited through our network to take a look at almost 24 technologies. And we were careful to select 5 that could be vertically integrated and mass deployed, whose time is ready. And that certainly is the case with Flozone, who's done a very nice job over the last 18 years, but whose time is really come due to mandates like those in Washington, D.C., in data centers and in communities, seeking to lower drought conditions.
Now, looking at this intersect of economics, environment, and health, we understand many people are all about the economics. Can we pay for it? Can we afford it? Others with the environment do it no matter what the cost. And of course, everyone is concerned about health, and more so as the worsening of climate change. So how do you balance economics, environment, and health through Pangea to bring something that really is going to have direct impact on the health of everyone around it?
Well, Sam, we call this the triple green bottom line, where we're looking to facilitate cooling the planet through a program that is not only good for the environment and helps people's health, but it's good for the bottom line. And for example, in the case of Flozone, it will actually pay for itself in anywhere from 18 to 42 months. So in this case, our philosophy is what we call pollution to profit, or P2P, so that it makes economic sense to obliterate what's bad for the environment.
I think that's really something that more people need to think about. And when you see these scenes here, and the plumes of smoke coming up, some of this are carcinogens, some of them are greenhouse gas emissions, of course, some of it's steam. But how do we need to move forward in the 21st century? Because we're going to have about 9 billion people on the planet by 2038, by the latest estimates. How do we start eliminating now? And actually, we should have been done yesterday, to make sure that we don't have these scenes, but yet we're not harming the economic viability of the United States and other countries around the globe.
Technology can do wonderful things. And as we move faster and faster to adopt technology, which is oftentimes stymied by the status quo that creates an absolute inertia. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And, fortunately in the United States, scenes like these have become less and less, but offshore, this is very, very common. South Africa, India, and which both of those places are starting to make a commitment to reduce not just carbon, but sulfur, and that's what kills. Mm-hmm. So they are also interested in the Flozone for what it does to improve the environment, because, in the case of cooling towers, you may not see the emissions, but as you know, Dr. Sam, there's such a thing that's been reported as chemical clouds that come from the chemicals that are required to mitigate the disease that comes from cooling towers. So right. Emissions, as you know, is a tough thing. The United States has done much better over the decades. Still should do more, especially when it comes to carbon.
Yeah, and the whole thing is, and you're looking at very ugly picture here as far as what's going on as far as emissions into the air and all of that. But going to the Internet of Things, this is the way that we can actually test and prove technologies before they're actually even deployed. And even though your Flozone has been around, say, 2 decades, there's still constant improvements are going on, and we're much more sophisticated in being able to test. Why is it important to continually test and improve technologies, even if they have been employed for a number of decades?
Well, Dr. Sam, it's important to note that the Flozone system actually is an IoT in that it has 24/7 monitoring. So in addition to improving operations, it actually monitors and allows you to anticipate whenever there's a pending situation. And again, this is where we're moving more and more into automation. And all of our technology, we not only require them to be, proven with a track record, but also that they are 24/7 monitoring.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think that's very important. Now, world bodies are very interested in these most innovative and leading edge technologies. So how do the international bodies actually help to drive this, even though America is, and some people would disagree with this, but really is a leader in many areas of the environment. But how do international bodies help to drive this so that we really are meeting the mandates coming out through the United Nations, and we're progressing to lower emissions, but also global warming at the same time?
Sam, it almost seems like you prodded this. You probably don't. I know you don't know this, but just in the last couple of weeks, the World Bank, some folks at the World Bank actually engaged at Pangea unsolicited and has been introducing us to folks mainly in India, so that we could help them with their climate crisis. And so we also see the World Bank starting to put pressure on on different countries that are emitting massive amounts of SO2 in particular. Mm-hmm. So it's I think the international community, the big organizations such as the World Bank, are really dedicated towards the mission of first the Paris Accord, and now more accelerated by COP26. So that's where leadership has to come, because let's look at Flozone. One of the reasons that has been relatively unknown is that there's been no mandate. You need the mandates, and then you need the right institutions to mandate them. And in DC, they've now mandated building efficiency. That's right. What opens the door. And the data centers, independent of any government push, they're mandating lower energy, lower water. That opens the door for. So mandates drive it, and that's what counts.
Yeah, and looking at the leadership in energy and environment, LEED, and of course LEED Platinum is the standard now in Washington, D.C. itself, and becoming more so around the globe. Why is LEED so important?
Well, I will say that Flozone uniquely stands out because it can actually help buildings and communities meet up to 13 LEED standards, everything from sustainability to water efficiency, energy, the atmosphere. And so, and LEED in many ways acts as much of an incentive as it does a mandate or objective. And so it's a very important tool. And that's why, as you point out, Washington, D.C. is the only in the world that is a LEED Platinum. They're fully embracing the LEED program, as are more and more building owners.
Yeah. And the whole thing about it with the LEED, it really does set an international benchmark, and that's very important. We're getting low on time here, Dan, so we're going to move through here. But these buildings, why is it so important as far as eliminating these chemical clouds that are being emitted? And so, it's always been, that people on the edge are the ones that are suffering the most. But actually, what you found out, probably about 2,000 different buildings in the core of the living and the business districts are actually being covered by these chemical clouds.
Well, Dr. Sam, these buildings are cooled by devices called cooling towers. And cooling towers back about 50 years ago were determined to be a cause of Legionella disease, because bacteria and other bad things would accumulate. And so people, so it became common to use chemicals in sometimes large doses to mitigate those conditions. And as you can appreciate, the chemicals can dissipate into the atmosphere. And there's been some articles published in Washington, D.C. about these so-called chemical clouds. But it's not just what goes into the air. It could also get into the water system through the flushing process that gets into the sewer system.
Yeah, so, and also the land. Dan, we're going to leave on this. What do you see for Pangea over the next 5, 10, 15 years? And you have to be quick. We're out of time.
Dr. Sam, we look to be a global presence in lowering carbon and emissions and costs.
And also chemical clouds. Thank you, Dan Bicz, co-founder, Pangea Filtration Technology, as we create the Emerald Planet.